あの魔女どもにベアとのゲームは理解できるのか？
同じゲーム版を使う以上、この子にできないことはできません。しかしこの子がやらないことはやれます。
やらないこととは何だ？
チェスの道具はチェスで遊ぶために存在します。それを使ってトランプをすることはできない。しかしチェスの駒を相手に投げつけてぶつけ、そういう行為をすることも不可能ではありません。しかしそれはチェスに対する冒涜だから誰もやらない。
That definitely wouldn't be chess anymore. Beto's eyes seemed to cloud slightly with sadness.
ふざけやがって。これは俺とベアとのゲームだ。他の誰にも冒涜はさせない。
Oh hey, I forgot about my man's Ronove. How you doing, buddy? At that time, gold butterflies gathered and Ronove appeared, holding a tea set with a black tea.
紅茶のおかわりはいかがですか？
もらえるか？
かしこま
What
りま
about
し
the
た。
cookie?
いかがですか？お嬢様の思考を探る旅は。
さっぱりだが楽しんでるぜ。
しかしよろしいのですか？
Oh.
こちらでくつろがれていても。
あの魔女どもが勝手に進めてるゲームのことか？
ええ、先ほど紅茶をお届けに伺った時にはもうじきその次の殺人も起こりそうな気配でした。
When Beto and I were playing, the game would be paused whenever someone left their seats. However, those witches wouldn't pause that game just because I wasn't around.
ロノウェは奴らのゲームを見たのか？
一部ではございます。
どうだった？
Ronove lifted the pot high with an elegant gesture as he poured the black tea. After finishing that, he finally spoke. He gave us his impressions of it.
愛がありませんな。
愛ってなんだ？
女性風に申し上げるとです。男性風に申し上げるならば、
Yeah, give it to me as a
義
man.
理が通らぬと申しましょうか。
I understood what those words meant. Because I'm a man. When I met Virgilia's eyes, she shook her head slightly and stared at the floor.
上辺は大変よくお嬢様のゲームに似せていると思います。しかし根本が大きく異なっています。
それはベアとのゲームのルールに反する？
いいえ、反しません。ラムダデルタ様はお嬢様のゲームのルールを実によく理解なされており、しかし
Badler stood up. There's no need to make Ronove say any more.
バトラク、
ロノウェ、せっかく入れてもらったけど紅茶はいらねえぜ。
やはり参られますか？
ああ、俺たちのゲームに部外者はいらない。
Okay. These guys weren't even here in the beginning, true? Because they've been loafing about, crazier and crazier witches have been introduced. And now they've hijacked this game between me and Beatrice.
取り返さねえとな。
Yeah.
ベアとのゲーム版は今は俺が預かってるはずなんだ。その俺がここでぼんやりしてるわけにはいかない。
Okay.
ありがとう。その言葉をこの子に聞かせてやりたかった。
きっと聞こえていますよ。お嬢様はそれにお返事することができないだけです。
Beato lay there silently, like a living doll with dull eyes. The game board she had created herself had been hijacked by incomprehensible people, and was being turned into a mess. If I was designated to be her opponent, then Beato must have created this game for me. I've got to take it back.
待ってろ、俺が取り返してくれ。
She doesn't seem to like that. Of course, Beato didn't respond in any way. That's right. If she can't respond, then I have to protect it in her place. Let's go.
行ってくるぜ。マルギリア、ロノウェ、黄金の眠り姫の面倒を頼むぜ。
はい、お任せを。
いってらっしゃい、バトラク。そしてどうかこの子のいないゲームにてこの子の何かを見つけてあげてください。
Okay, that's interesting.
もしそれを見つけること、たとえこの子が不在であっても、あなたはこの子と 戦ってくれたことになる。
Okay.
そうだよな。ああ、全然ダメだぜ。
全然ダメだぜ。
俺は何をやってるんだ。
Let's go. And let's take it back.
魔女ども、待たせたな。俺の休憩は終わりだぜ。
When he faced the jet black heavens and yelled this, the whole world shattered as though it were made out of thin glass. Then, as though it had been that way since the beginning, it transformed into that smoking room where Battler had fought Beato so many times, and which the two witches had now hijacked.
なにあんた、今頃戻ってきたの？超遅すぎ。もうゲームは2日目どころか大詰めも大詰めよ。
バトラがいつまでも来ないから私が勝手に進めちゃったわ。
Yeah, like you even waited for me in the first place.
ベルンはあんたよりずーっと頭が冴えてて痛快だったわよね。
うるせえ。プレイヤーは俺だ。代役の魔女どもは引っ込んでろ。
別に今から参加しても構わないけど、もう出番ないわよ多分。
確かに。だってもうクライマックスもクライマックス。これで多分ベルンが詰めたゲームセットだもの。
なんだと。
いいんじゃない？最後の爪くらい見物しても。
Okay, this is weird.
そうね。おいでなさい後ろ宮バトラ。もうほとんどおしまいだけど、私の作ったキュートでエレガントなゲーム、エピソード5エンド・オブ・ザ・ゴールデン・ウィッチ。
So we're jumping into it at the end. What? Why did it open my menu? Oh, is this for me to like review shit so I know? Her corpse was found in the cousin's room on the second floor in the guest house. The direct cause of death is unknown. Her neck was sliced open by a sharp blade. The wound was deep enough that anyone could easily confirm her death with absolute certainty. Okay. His corpse was found in the guest room on the first floor of the mansion. A demon stake had pierced through his back. The tip of it reached as far as his lungs because he was lying down on the bed. It is unthinkable that this was a suicide. His corpse found in the cousin's room on the second floor. Sharp blade. I'm guessing the same with Maria. Mm-hmm. So the three cousins had their throats slit. He got stabbed with a stake. Wait, they said this was the finale, but this looks like this is just the first 6. Rosa was in the cousin's room. Nice. Servant Genji. His corpse was found in the servant waiting room on the first floor with his sharp blade. Okay, so these 5 got the sharp blade treatment, but Hideyoshi got the stake treatment? That's interesting. Nazi. Anywho. Doesn't look like there's anything else I need to see. Anything on the next page I need to give a shit about? Probably not. Okay. Okay, so the cousins plus Rosa and Genji got their throats slit, but Hideyoshi got stabbed with a stake. The cousins and Rosa were in the cousins' room. Genji was in the servants' quarters. I don't know where Hideyoshi was. I wasn't paying attention. Nazi. Right now, no humans exist on this island except for those in this parlor. And with one exception, it has been shown that none of them have committed murder. With one exception? And the culprit is among these people.
おいおい、となると決定的じゃねえか。
魔女が犯人で魔法で殺人を犯したわけでない。
あんたなの？あんたがジョージを、主人を殺したの？どうしてよ、どうして？
私は殺していません。
I believe you.
私は何も。
In a panic, and with a voice that was far from calm, in a manner that was, to put it coldly, unsightly, Aunt Natsu denied the suspicion placed upon her. However, there was no longer any way around it. She stood up, brushed back her long hair, pointed at Aunt Natsu, and said it one more time. You!
あなたが犯人です。
Okay, now this is someone I've been waiting for. I've seen this character mentioned a lot online. I've seen her talked about a lot. This is apparently a fan favorite character. I've been waiting to see her show up. This is Erica, right?
後宮夏日さん。
Okay, okay. Damn, okay, this intro go hard. Yeah, we're feeling it. Okay, got Erica, we got Kinzo. Alright, the painting, go on. Uh-huh, gang gang, gang gang. Yeah. I have no idea what Erica's relation to the actual story is. I just know that she's a character that everyone seems to love. That's what they're. We saw Gop. Field of Roses, alright. Angie. Yo! What the fuck? Why does this opening go so fucking hard? What the fuck? Like, the opening of the question arcs isn't bad, but oh my god, it did not get me fucking moving like this one does. Holy shit. What the hell? Oh, bro, I'm fucking. Oh, if I wasn't excited before, I am fucking hyped. Let's go. What? Yo, I'm. Oh, I'm into this. I'm into this. Oh. As she knocked loudly and repeatedly, Natsu yelled. Shortly after, there was a heavy clunking sound, and the sound of the door to Kinzo's study unlocking could be heard. As the door opened, a heavily sweet, venomous odor flowed out. Natsu was always ashamed of how she automatically grimaced at that, even though she thought it rude to the family head. Kraus was waiting for her inside the study. Natsu flew into his arms.
落ち着きたまえ。今南條先生が見ている。
Oh? With an uncertain gait, Natsu walked towards the center of the study, supported by Kraus. Okay. There, a dignified bed fitting for the Ushiromiya family head could be seen, along with Nanjo, Genji, and Kumasawa. After sighing deeply, Nanjo left the side of the bed. On the bed, Kinzo could be seen lying down, asleep. Oh. So is this like a backstory thing then? Because like the whole thing was that Kinzo was already dead, and that the person portraying him wasn't the actual Ushiromiya Kinzo, and that it was like a title that was being passed down. That was the whole thing that was brought up in the Tea Party of episode 4. So is this like the backstory as to what happened before then? Like the actual moment of him actually dying? Sobbing, Natsu slumped over the chest of that man, who had fallen into a sleep from which he would never awaken.
奥様どうかしっかり。
お父様、お父様、こんな突然だって。
Natsu couldn't stop crying over the death of the man whom she had loved like a second father. Kumasawa rubbed Natsu's back, consoling her. Kraus slumped into his late father's favorite chair. By sitting there, he might have been immersed in memories of his departed father. Or perhaps he thought that by sitting there, he might be able to understand just a bit of the madness of Kinzo's later years, which he had never been able to comprehend before. And Nanjo, just as he had when Kinzo once sat in that chair, contemplating a chess move, turned his back and looked down over the outside world through a crack in the curtains.
同じ死ぬならせめて寝込んで1年後に死亡とか、もう少ししかるべき準備の猶予期間を設けてから死んで欲しかったのね。それは逆だ。最後の瞬間までお元気だったことを喜ぶべきです。建前上はそうなるがね。
Nanjo understood that as well. Ushirome Kinzo, who had risen like a comet and glittered like a supernova in the post-war business world, had died. His funeral would probably be of a fantastic scale, and it would also be the ceremony marking Krause's inheritance of the headship. He would have to arrange everything as the host of the event, carry out funeral diplomacy perfectly, and make it clear to all that the Ushirome family still had enormous influence in the political and financial spheres. As Nanjo watched Krause, he was vividly reminded of the time when Kinzo had been suddenly selected as the Ushirome family head. When Kinzo had been lost and confused. In this way, he was able to understand Krause's distress and sympathize with it. Natsu's sobs eventually subsided. Watching this and leaving Kumasawa to care for Natsu as a fellow woman, Genji returned to where Krause was. And as though asking what should be done, Genji lowered his head slightly.
手続き等は私と源氏さんでやろう。クラウスさんはまずは親戚の方々に連絡した方がいいでしょう。
Krause, with his hands still over his eyes, didn't respond. Perhaps even though he had known this day would come, Krause really couldn't hide his shock at how suddenly it had reached them.
私と南條先生に旦那様はまずは奥様とご相談いただくのが良いかと思います。
Maybe she heard that, or maybe it was a coincidence. As though responding to Genji's words, Natsuki came over. Her eyes were red from crying so much, but she apparently understood the heavy responsibility that it imposed on them even better than Krause did.
これからはあなたが栄光ある後宮家の当主です。お父様の後を立派に継いだことを内外に示しましょう。この夏日、あなたの妻として棺を並べる日までお仕えする覚悟
That's
です。
because you're a real queen, and I love you. Trying to encourage her husband, who was overcome with shock, Nancy lent him some reassuring words. When Krause finally lowered the hands that had been covering his face, he looked up at the ceiling with a blank expression, let out a deep, deep sigh.
どうかしっかりお父様の残したものを食い荒らそうと目論む輩が、私たちはお父様の名誉と財産を守るために、それが後宮家当主の最初の仕事。
分かってる。分かっているとも。
南條先生と源氏はお役所や葬儀業者への手配をお願いします。特に源氏、お父様の葬儀にふさわしいものとなるよう特に手配を頼みますよ。
かしこまりました。
それから南條先生、お父様は病院でお亡くなりになったわけではないので、
場合によっては解剖が入るかもしれませんが。
なんとかなりませんか。亡くなったとはいえお父様の大切なお体です。傷をつけるなど耐えられることではありません。
気持ちはわかる。だがそういうところをきっちりすることも大切だ。それにこう言っては難しい親族の方々が多いんじゃないかね。
Yeah. Who knew how those vultures after the inheritance might try to find fault with them? They might claim to have found some reason to suspect the cause of death, using that as a point of contention to start some trouble. Right now it was important not only to pay Kinzo's remains the respect they were due, but also to solidify the position of the new family head, Krause.
わかりました。必要最小限にお願いします。間違っても
お父様の威厳が損なわれるようなお姿にしないように。
それは大丈夫だ。安心し
I
なさ
have
い。
no intention of touching that man's dignity. Anywho,
とにかく金蔵さんのことはわしらに任せて、夏日さんはクラウスさんのそばにいてあげなさい。これからが大変なんだから。
分かっています。あなたもどうかしっかり。
Kraus was still staring blankly at the ceiling with a befuddled expression on his face. She understood the shock and heavy responsibility he bore. Natsuki understood her husband's feelings as much as anyone.
親族への連絡は私がします。今だけは休まれてください。
Kraus didn't respond. Natsuki, thinking him to be just a bit unreliable at the moment, decided she must offer her support. Seeing her husband like this actually spurred Natsuki to action, and a resolute expression rose to her face. Hell yeah, that's my
これ
queen.
から忙しくなります。今できることを始めましょう。夫はきっとお父様と二人きりで話したいことも私たちは一度ここを退出しましょう。
そうでございます。その時間はきっと今しか取れないでしょうから。
Being in charge of a funeral is tiring work. There's no time to shed tears. If Kraus were ever to be given time to cry for his dead father, that time would have to be now. Everyone agreed with Kumasawa's words. Even so, Kraus continued to blankly gaze up at the ceiling and didn't respond in any way. Natsuki urged the servants to go.
私はジェシカにも話してきます。今やあの子が次期当主です。それにふさわしい自覚を持つようによく言い聞かせなくては。
待て。
Mate. Okay. Thinking. So if Kinzo's dead, right? But then all the cousins had their throats slit, with the exception of Battler. Which, then that maybe that has something to do with the whole successor business. Anyway, Mate, go on. As they each started to make their way out of the study, Kraus finally spoke. They stopped walking.
はい。
待て。
Mate.
はい。
We're just gonna go back and forth. Mate. Hi. Mate. Hi. Mate. Hi. Hadn't she already stopped walking, just like her husband had asked? Mate. But despite that, he told her once again to wait. From those slightly weak words, Natsuki understood that he'd probably stopped her because he wanted her to be by his side.
お前たちは下へ。私は夫と言います。何かあったらここに電話するように。
かしこまりました。
Mate!
だから待てと言っている。
When Kraus suddenly raised his voice, everyone jumped and turned around. Unable to comprehend what she had done to spark her husband's wrath, Natsuki ran up to him.
どうしましたあなた。私は何かだったらお許しを。
いや、違う。そうじゃない。そうじ
Yeah,
ゃ
that's
な
right,
い。
you better be apologetic to your queen.
少し待て。時間をくれ。
分かっています。心を整理するためにも必要です。私たちはその時間をあなたにあげようと。
だからそれを待てというのだ。いいか。誰もその場から一歩たりともだ。疲れたなら椅子にでもソファーにでも好きに座ればいい。だから何も喋らずに静かに黙って何もせずにいろ。
Damn. Okay. Jesus. Those unreasonable words felt like a glimpse of how Kinzo used to be. Natsuki couldn't hide her slight surprise at this behavior, which almost made it seem as though Kinzo had possessed her husband. So, what are we gonna tell Jessica then? Because she's just like, well, I mean, I doubt Jessica gives a shit. She's probably just vibing in her room, not giving a fuck. Yeah, nah, go on. Natsuki told the servants to wait for the time being. She ordered them to sit on a sofa a short distance off, approached her husband, and spoke to him in a small voice.
あなたがお命じになれば夏日は行くんですからどうかお気を鎮められて。
違う。そうではないのだ。そうではないのだ。
Was it really blood, or was he actually being possessed? Kraus's disorderly style of speech strongly resembled Kinzo's. As she watched this, Natsuki became certain that Kraus was Kinzo's son after all, and that he was the true successor, more suitable than any other person. Wow, my husband's going fucking crazy. Reminds me of the previous head of the household. I'm so proud of him.
夏日、こっち。
Cross stood up and headed towards the window, trying to lengthen the distance between himself and the servants waiting on the sofa, by even a small amount. Natsu realized that he must have something secret to discuss.